Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to my channel. I am Coach Sherry. I'm in my vehicle, so this is car chat and all that. So there is this content creator named Anthony Ladson, and he has a community wall. He's a content creator here on YouTube, and he has a community wall post that caught my attention this morning. I don't know it verbatim, but it said something to the effect of, listen to what God is whispering to you more than what the enemy is shouting at you. And if you have a chance, if you go to Anthony Ladson's channel, it's Anthony Ladson My Time. And it's like a purple background with white lettering. That is the post that I'm commenting on. And it resonated with me so much because you know how they always say, go into your prayer closet, and that's where, growing up, they used to always say, going into my prayer closet to pray to God, going into my prayer closet. And I really didn't know the significance of that when people would say that. And it wasn't until I actually went into my closet one day when my children were young, and I needed to take this call, and it seemed like my children were following me all over the house. And finally, I went into my closet and I closed the door and I laid on the floor and I took the call. And after the call, I just continued to lay there, and I was like, wow, it's really quiet in here. And I found myself going into that closet. We had a beautiful bench in there too, and I would sit on that bench sometimes, or again, laying on the floor. And it would be so quiet and peaceful. And then one day I just started to hear God's voice, and I started to hear things that God was telling me to do business-wise. I didn't even know it was business-wise, but it was just things that God was sharing with me, and I was obedient. I understood the assignment and I went for it, but it was so quiet. And so when he had that post and it's talking about God's whispers, that's what it sounded like, him whispering. And now throughout the day, I hear God's whispers much more than I hear of anything else. It's his whispers to me is so powerful and so and it's so consuming for me until I don't hear the naysayers. I don't hear the backroom talk. I don't hear the yelling or the concerns or anything like that, because I know that God's whispers are my calling. I know that those are my assignments, and that is what my ears are trained to really focus on. So I encourage you to really train your ears, get that ear muscle memory together to hear God's voice, because those are where the blessings flow. That's where you will find your answers. That's where you'll find your purpose, is through God's whispers, not through the enemy's screams, hollers, and yells. I remember when I did my teaching fellowship, and it was at a Title I middle school in one of the most challenging neighborhoods here in Charlotte. And I refused to meet the energy of the students. So if some of the students were in the back yelling and screaming and hollering and everything, and a lot of times people do that to get your attention, maybe they don't get great confirmation when they do something good, but when they do something bad, that's when the attention is all on them. But I refused to give them that attention when they were acting out like that. And so for the few students that were there to pay attention, I would just whisper. I would stand in the front of the class and I would just it wasn't a whisper like, but I would just talk quietly in a lower tone. And the other students that were right there in the front could hear me. And I remember very vividly the day when the students that were in the back stopped to realize that I wasn't paying them any attention, but also stopped to try to hear what I was saying. And they had to come closer, and they were like, Miss Boom Boom, what are you saying? And I was like, if you weren't trying to compete for this time in class, you would know. Come closer so you can hear. And so they eased up closer, and they started to listen. And that's how it is. You know, so many times people pay attention to people, they focus their energies on the things that are the loudest, you know, the things that are crashing. They always say like, oh, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. But how about not letting the wheel get squeaky and just keeping the wheel oiled? And so that way you don't have to hear that loud squeak, you know? And so that's how it is. It's just being calm. And that's what God is. He's very calming. There's nothing jarring about him. There's nothing disturbing about him. So when you find yourself in the presence of people, places, and things that are disturbing, that are jarring, that are low energy, that's not of God. So listen for those whispers all throughout the day. That's all I have to say to you today. But remember, practice every day. Practice so hard that when you get into play, you will always win. It's been my pleasure sharing this with you. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I am Coach Sherry.